Hello and welcome to Business Week, the program that brings you top business stories that made the headlines during the week, including interviews, features and market data. Welcome. President Muhammadu Buhari has sworn in his ministers and given them portfolios during the week. Many of the returning ministers retained their offices, but Babatunde Fashola will now be handling just works and housing without power. Let's take a listen to Mr. President.
The ministers are therefore allocated portfolios as follows. Number 1, Dr. Okechukwu Oga, Minister of State Mines and Steel Development. Muhammadu Bello, Minister of Federal Capital Territory. Senator Godul Fabio, Minister of Niger Delta. Dr. Chris Ingege, Minister of Labor and Employment. Sharon O. Akezo, Minister of State Environment. Malam Adamu, Minister of Education. Ambassador Mariam Y. Katagum, Minister of State Industry, Trade and Investment. Timothy Silva, Minister of State Petroleum under Mr. President. Senator George Okume, Minister of Social Duties and International Affairs. Mustafa Baba Shahuri, Minister of State Agriculture and Rural Development. Gode Jide Agba, Minister of State Power. Festus Kiamo San, Minister of State Niger Delta. Dr. Omonia Onu, Minister of Science and Technology. Dr. Osagi Iha Nere, Minister of Health. Clement Aike Anade Agba, Minister of State Budget and National Planning. Otumba Richard Adenei Adebayo, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Geoffrey Onyema, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Dr. Ali Isa Ibrahim Pantami, Minister of Communication. Emeka Iwajuba, Minister of State Education. Engineer Suleiman H. Adamu, Minister of Water Resources. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. Dr. Mohammed Mahmoud, Minister of Environment. Sabo Nanono, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. Major General Retired Bashir Salihi Magashi, Minister of Defense. Then Minister of Petroleum. Next, Senator Hadi Sirika, Minister of Aviation. Abubakar Malami, Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Ramatu Tijani, Minister of State Federal Capital Territory. Lai Mohammed, Minister of Information and Culture. Bemisola Saraki, Minister of State Transportation. Babatunde Raji Fashola, Minister of Works and Housing. Senator Adeleke O. Mamora, Minister of State Health. Mohammed H. Abdullahi, Minister of State Science and Technology. Ambassador Zubairu Dada, Minister of State Foreign Affairs. Archbishop Olanilekan, architect, sorry, not archbishop, we don't have archbishops here. Architect Olanilekan, a deputy, Minister of Mines and Steel Development. Senator Tayo D. Lasso Dura, Minister of State Labor and Employment. Ruth Aruba Shola, Minister of Interior. Sanjay Dare, Minister of Youth and Sports. Pauline Talon, Minister of Women Affairs. Rotimi Amechi, Minister of Transportation. Muhammadu Megari Dingyadi, Minister of Police Affairs. Engineer Saleh Mamman, Minister of Power. Abubakar D. Aliyu, Minister of State Works and Housing. Saadia Umar Farooq, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. On this note, I wish to formally inaugurate the new members of the Federal Executive Council. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The zeal to deliver on the next level agenda of federal government was obvious as new ministers resumed office on Wednesday, immediately after being sworn in. They held preliminary meetings with top officials in their various ministries. Moyo Thomas reports.
After 2 days of intensive tutoring on government's best practices and the objective of President Muhammadu Buhari's next level agenda, the ministers went straight to their various offices after being sworn in. To intimate top officials in their ministries of the focus of their administration. They are to build policies coming from their ministries around the 3 main objectives of the president: fortifying security, improving the economy, and fighting corruption.
My charge to all of us is to please redouble our effort so that we can justify the confidence Mr. President has reposed in us.
Essentially, the priorities of Mr. President are what we have to focus on.
Zainab Hamed returned as the Minister of newly merged Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, expressing confidence that with professionals that she is to work with, she will succeed in her returning role.
Our nation is facing a fiscal crisis or a near fiscal crisis, so it is actually up to us to make sure that it's arrested, that we don't slip into a crisis. The whole of this responsibility lies on your shoulders.
For Babatunde Fashola, a ministry was dropped from his former portfolio, with Works and Housing Ministries remaining under his purview. He sees his return as an opportunity to consolidate on achievements he had left in place.
Over the next few days, all of us, from the smaller units to the departments, must be concentrating on how to quickly help the Permanent Secretary and us present a budget.
A new ministry was also created, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management. President Muhammadu Buhari remains the substantive minister in charge of petroleum. Most of the returning ministers resumed in their former offices, save for some minor adjustments.
Now, the National Economic Council has adopted a zero-oil plan to make the non-oil export sector take center stage and drive in the economy. To this end, the council meeting on Thursday under the lead of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo agreed to set up a state export development fund, and our State House correspondent Tai Amodu has details in this report coming up shortly.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has invested a 50 billion naira debenture in a zero-oil plan to be disbursed by the Nigeria Export-Import Bank. It is a policy conceptualized and developed by the Nigeria Export Promotion Council (NEPC) in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan to reduce Nigeria's dependence on crude oil. And it has started yielding fruits, if records are to go by, which show that non-oil exports have risen from $1.17 billion in 2016 to $3.16 billion in 2018.
Add an extra $150 billion minimum to Nigeria's foreign reserves cumulatively from non-oil exports over a period of 10 years. Create 500,000 jobs annually, and then finally to lift 20 million Nigerians out of poverty, which is actually contributing to SDG plan for zero poverty.
Cheering news also shared in the National Economic Council meeting is that Nigeria has crossed the 3-year milestone without recording a case of wild poliovirus, WPV. It is a record Council is determined to maintain, and it is looking at improving the quality of the campaigns in order to prevent any case of infection, especially in the Northeast. There is also need to overcome some challenges which might stall Nigeria's certification as polio-free.
There is need to improve the quality of the campaigns in order to stop the outbreak of polio. There's also the need for increased rates of immunization. The minister identified some challenges as follows. The lack of release of counterpart funds by the local government chairman is one of the key problems in achieving successful routine immunization. He also identified the issue of insecurity in some parts of the country, particularly in the Northeast.
Council agreed with a report that macroeconomic environment of the country had shown significant growth stability since it came out of recession. Despite the recorded growth, the balance of the excess crude account have dropped to $95.3 million. Likewise, funds accruing to the natural resources account dropped to 95.89 billion naira. The closing account balance for the stabilization account stayed steady at 21.72 billion naira.
In other development, the federal government has set up measures to secure Nigeria's land and maritime borders. It has ordered a collaboration of all security agencies to conduct a joint border security exercise, codenamed X-Swift Response. The Armed Forces of Nigeria, the Nigeria Customs Service, including the police and the Nigerian Immigration Service, and other security and intelligence agencies are involved in this exercise. Now, TVC News correspondent Ifunaya Eze also has details in this report.
Besides promoting interagency cooperation, the joint exercise is aimed at increasing preparedness to address trans-border security challenges such as terrorism, smuggling, and armed banditry, amongst others. The overall objective is to ensure a peaceful and secured country in the interest of national security.
This is an assignment mandated by the federal government, TAC named Operation Border Trios. It is bound on us as Nigerians to once in a while undertake such an exercise to at least know that yes, at any point we'll be in a position to handle our own affairs. So we are mandated to do our civic responsibility, civic right to protect the integrity of this nation.
The joint exercise is being coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor and will be taking place in 4 geopolitical zones in the country. The exercise would also involve the movement of personnel, vehicles and equipment within the affected parts of the country.
Now, players in the Malaysian oil and gas industry are looking to invest in Nigeria. They expect good returns from the industry, which they see as having lots of investment opportunities.
This man is an existing oil and gas service investor in Malaysia. He is interested in operating in Nigeria for several reasons.
Nigeria is the largest oil producing country in Africa. Plenty and abundance of opportunities, and we would like to work with Nigerian partners to offer our services, expertise in more on the maintenance and servicing of valves, actuators, pumps, etc.
This meeting between the Nigerian-Malaysian Business Council and potential investors aims to facilitate expression of investment interest from the likes of this Malaysian investor. Facilitators feel Malaysia has a lot to share with Nigeria in the management of oil and gas resources.
Malaysia as a country has been able to manage effectively and efficiently their resources. It's a big lesson to learn. It's a big lesson for Nigeria to learn. If you are able to manage your resources effectively and efficiently to the benefit of your people, then you are in the stream of development, because development is about people.
Exports from Nigeria to Malaysia consist mainly of liquefied natural gas, iron ore, metal scraps and agricultural commodities. Malaysia, on its part, exports petroleum products, palm oil, palm-based products, machinery and also processed food to Nigeria. This renewed investment engagement between the two nations is perceived here as critical to building on existing ties.
I would like to encourage more Nigerian companies to engage and collaborate with Malaysian companies in a win-win joint ventures and partnership, which will boost and further strengthen bilateral trade relations between both of our countries.
Trade and investment ties between Nigeria and Malaysia have existed for several decades, and the Malaysian investors here are hopeful that an expansion of these ties in the Nigerian energy industry will be mutually beneficial to the two economies.
You're still watching Business Week, and we're going on a short break. Stay tuned for much more details, bringing you other reports from the rest of Africa and the world. Just stay with us. Glad to have you back. Now, the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Monitoring Unit has called for transparency and ethical dealing in the Nigerian Forex markets trading. The group stressed that transparency and ethical dealings would enhance the growth of the Forex trading in the country. Details coming up now.
Nigeria's unemployment rate stood at 23.1% in the third quarter of 2018, up from 18.1% earlier in the year in review. The statistics further shows that underemployment stands at 20.1%, bringing the combined figures at 43.3%. International and local operators in the foreign exchange market say Nigerian youths need to channel their energy into sustainable businesses to help address this ugly trend.
The knowledge, the education part is what we are driving to get everyone involved on how we can get them trained properly and trade profitably. So it's going to be ethical if we bring it to limelight to everyone to participate, and so that we also have the government agencies to monitor the transparency on how we trade the forex market into profit.
One of the things you need to do, which is fundamental, you might have had several people saying they have got burned, there is this, but when you go further into investigation, you will discover people just go in blindly. I advise you, don't ever try it. Life is all about risk, and in Forex there is risk. Even me standing here and all of you here, we all came into this world by risk.
Chairman Anti-Corruption and Transparency Monitoring Unit at the Presidential Villa stressed that ethical businesses tailored to the policy direction of the current administration remains the way forward in building a fraud-free Forex market.
They should operate within the ambit of the law, and they should make sure their operation is accountable, transferable, and the corruption aspect of it should always be taken serious. That is, the ethical foundation should be very strong, and the business should be sustainable, unlike before, where you have all these MMM, all these Ponzi schemes. They have shown seriousness, and they are doing things differently.
A single Nigerian investor deserves to have a local brokerage to access the latest technology, to access the markets with no latency, no slippage, and at the same time to endorse the local authorities to detect any faulty practice from any brokerage, at the same time to detect late trading execution.
Forex traders here agree that with the support of government and proper legislation, the more than $5 trillion Forex market can help reduce unemployment and poverty.
And still within the oil and gas sector, in line with current oil and gas industry regulations, the Lagos zone of the Department of Petroleum Resources has put together a sensitization workshop aimed at improving quality of environmental impact studies. We have details in this report.
Environmental impact assessment is a formal process by which a proposed activity with potentially significant environmental, social, and economic costs is studied. This is with a view to evaluating its impact and developing measures to mitigate the negative impacts of this process. In line with developments in the industry, The Lagos zone of the Department of Petroleum Resources is holding this sensitization workshop to provide insights to environmental consultants and professionals about regulatory policies on environmental issues.
You want to do LPG. In the past, there's a threshold which you are not required to do environmental impact analysis, but now it's been required for all projects. And the essence of this is for us to be able to know what are the risks inherent for the environment if we go on with this project. And also you will see that our EIA consultant also need to be able to develop the courage to advise DPR to say, I've studied this project and the project is not going to fly.
We've identified certain gaps between the upstream consulting firms in terms of quality, content, and quality assurance generally in the EIA, that's the environmental impact assessment studies that is being delivered. So the whole essence around this workshop was to bring the consultants together with the DPR, realign their focus on what expectations of the Department of Petroleum Resources is all about with regards to the existing guidelines and standard for the industry.
The department insists that safe environmental culture has been relatively imbibed in the upstream sector of the industry, but the downstream is struggling to keep pace.
This workshop has been great in terms of providing such sensitization, and we think going forward we now have much information as it relates to the existing standards to provide effective and suitable environmental studies in the industry.
An updated review of Orgasmin was released last November 2018. So some of the old rules or regulations or standards actually changed. So we are here to sensitize them, to bring them to pace with a new regime.
The DPR says considerations on environmental risk should be made from project concept stages and through the design, installation, commissioning, operation and decommissioning stages.
It's now time to bring you quite an interesting feature. Sports betting really is a global phenomenon which illustrates a perfect example of passion turned business. The global sports betting market size is expected to grow by $125.18 billion between 2019 and 2030. Nigeria rakes in big as well from this industry, generating over 330 billion naira annually. We have some catchy details in this feature.
Bayern against Klopp's Dortmund.
Placing bets on sports games is a huge global industry worth billions of dollars. For football, it remains an unrivaled territory in Nigeria. The growth of the internet, mobile devices and satellite TV channels to watch live matches has no doubt increased accessibility. It's all a game of odds.
The betting company has done the summary for you. They will show you the club that is playing at home and the club playing away.
With Nigeria's unemployment rate at 23.1% and projected to reach 33.5% by 2020, many sports enthusiasts resort to online-offline bets to get a quick, easy cash.
With 100 naira betting, if you are favored enough, it can be like 200,000 naira. Weekends like this, I probably sit down on my computer for like 4 hours, analyze it and play mainly to make money.
I don't think we have any categories of people that bet. I think it's everybody. It's everybody, because even those people you see in their offices, they use their mobile phone to bet online.
Well, now statistics show that there are over 14 million bet stakes and payments made over the internet every single day in Nigeria. And quite interestingly, now it is important to know that this does not necessarily affect the rate of teaming punters who come out here to the offline physical stores. Withdrawals are easy, just with a click of a button.
You enter the website, log in with my ID and my password. I just click withdraw. A page will pump out where you will input your bank account number, your name, the name of the bank, and you click.
Betting companies make money from the higher probabilities of losses from punters. However, poor internet connectivity and power outage hold far more devastating financial losses. Analysts predict sports betting advertisement will contribute 4% to search engine giant Google and 7% to social media platform Facebook. Beyond all these figures, punters are always driven by the highs of winning steadily. Well, that's it on this edition of Business Week. I leave you now with graphic details of the commodities market. I'm David Alabi. Many thanks for watching.